For more on this, let's bring in Fox News political contributor Gianno Caldwell. Gianno, I'm sure you just heard then President Obama back in 2013 slamming Republicans for shutting down the government. He doesn't seem to be saying anything about the shutdown that's underway right now, which essentially you can lay at the feet of the Democrats.
No, 100%. And what I think is going on right now with the Democrats, the Senate Democrats, is this is a test case, the shutdown, for these two particular elections. You know, we have a lot of federal employees in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and these individuals are deeply impacted by the shutdown. We know that, we've had a lot of employee unions, federal unions, Teamsters, et cetera, that have come out against the Democrats. We've also seen the Washington Post come out against the Democrats, CNN. Even there's been commentary negative in the New York Times. So people are wondering, how is this going to land? Because at this particular time, the Democrats could have opened the government a month ago, but they've chosen not to. And I believe it's because they've not had a real platform to challenge Donald Trump, because he's been doing such a great job on so many fronts. We can talk about the fact that he brought peace to the Middle East, ended a number of wars, disabled Iran as a nuclear power, closed the border, and on many, many other fronts, the economy is roaring back, and we're lowering the interest rates. So things are looking pretty good and promising. I'm not saying everything is perfect, but certainly things are looking good, and they had nothing. But this right here, impacting the SNAP benefits, which I personally take great offense of, coming from a family who relied on food stamps myself. 42 million people can't put food on the table today. That's a problem. But they're testing this out. They want to see what's going to happen and if they can try to regain power, unfortunately, on the backs of America's most vulnerable.
In the New Jersey gubernatorial race, the president figures in, the sitting president figures in, and we have a graphic that shows that. When asked about one reason for your vote, this is again in New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill, the Democrat candidate, only 1% of Sherrill supporters say they also support President Trump. Among Jack Ciattarelli's supporters, it's 35%. But then look at the bottom. 35% of the Sherrill supporters say that the president is not a factor in their vote. 65% of the Ciattarelli supporters say that President Trump is not a factor in this race. It is a tight race. Where do you see it, Gianno?
I mean, it's honestly a toss-up. We can talk about New Jersey, we can talk about Virginia, and what we'll see is some of this stuff comes almost within a margin of error. It's going to depend on turnout. Who's going to turn out their bases? You look at Virginia as an example. President Trump has not come out and endorsed Winsome Earl Sears, but I think that's intentional and strategic, as he didn't with Governor Youngkin. So that's a tricky place, Virginia, in and of itself. But certainly he's supportive. The president has been supportive. So will the MAGA base come out in favor of Winsome Earl Sears? Let's hope so. Same in the New Jersey race. Let's hope so. But this shutdown and the SNAP benefit issue, I think, is going to be probably the paramount issue of the day, because it feels like a crisis level event. We've not seen something like this in a very long time. And you also got to see how these candidates have talked about ICE and the operations that have gone on across the country. That's another consideration, I think, for some voters, especially in blue states.
At least in the New Jersey race, it appears that the enthusiasm edge that you were just talking about goes to the Republican side, and we have a graphic about that. Jack Ciattarelli supporters, 69% of them say that they are very, or at least somewhat, enthusiastic about voting. 5% higher than the Sherrill supporters. And when you ask the opposite question, are you not very or not at all enthusiastic? 36% of the Democrats' supporters say, yeah, not very or not at all. 31% of Jack Ciattarelli supporters put it that way. So the enthusiasm edge is there, but is that enough to win an election?
Turnout. I remember what an old friend, Marty Morris, told me years ago. He said, Gianno, polls don't vote, which is very true. People are the ones that are going to determine what this election looks like and who gets the blame for the hardships that Americans are feeling right now. Those are going to be the deepest concerns for people, very much so pocketbook issues, because there are many people that are hurting because of the Democrats' government shutdown, and the Democrats are depending on Americans not having the wisdom, the knowledge to recognize that you need 60 votes in the Senate in order to open up the government. And Republicans, they're not 60 Republicans in the Senate. So they're hoping that people hear, oh, Republicans are in the majority, not recognizing the fact that there needs to be Democrats that come on board to actually support opening the government. People like Senator Fetterman, who's denounced this party for their, what I would call, evil actions, making sure that young people, the most vulnerable people, whether it be young moms, dads, etc., go hungry. 42 million Americans' lives have been put in jeopardy because of the Senate Democrats and the Democratic Party, I would argue, as a whole.
We'll see what it's going to take to get the government open again and to get those Democrats, those few Democrat votes that, as you say, are needed to get things through the Senate. Gianno Caldwell, thank you.
Thank you for having me, John.
You bet.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.